I'm Dani Gasparini, and welcome to this segment of Penn Voice. I am joined today by Bart Charlow, who is the CEO of Samaritan House, and I'm also joined by Kathy Jackson, who is the CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank. Bart, Kathy, welcome.
Thank you.
So we have a great program to talk about today, but first I'd like each of you to give a real quick description of the organizations that you represent. So Bart, let's start with you.
Well, Samaritan House works with 12,000 of your neighbors in need every year, providing what they need to survive and thrive. So it's food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, financial empowerment, and a whole lot more.
Yeah. And Kathy, Second Harvest Food Bank.
Second Harvest Food Bank works in both Santa Clara and San Mateo counties, and we provide food every single month to more than 250,000 people. So we could literally fill Levi Stadium more than 3 times over with the people that we serve each month, 1 out of 10 local residents.
So I'm guessing that part of the food that you make sure that is out in our community makes its way to Samaritan House.
Very astute,
right?
Yep.
So, and we want to talk about this particular partnership. But Bart, first, you have a food pantry within Samaritan House, but now we're talking about a food pharmacy. Mm-hmm. So, give us what that linkage is. Well,
we do an awful lot of food, and thanks to our partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank, it's healthy food.
Right.
And Kathy came up with this fabulous idea. Well, she did, and it was people who are living in poverty are often eating empty calories because it's all they can afford. And if you look at the most prevalent diagnosis in the United States, especially among people who are struggling financially, it's diabetes, which is a disease that can actually be controlled in most instances by good diet, except they can't afford it. So we see all those folks in our free clinics, and the idea was we would have the doctors actually prescribe the diet that was appropriate for people with, for example, type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
They would be able to walk right across the clinic and literally pick up the right food right there for free and take care of their whole family's needs.
So prior to this food pharmacy concept, that individual would have access to sort of a grocery store, a grocery bag, or a box of food that they could access through Second Harvest Food Bank that was just sort of general donated items that you try and hit all of the major food groups, but wasn't as specific to disease and diet.
Exactly. So one of the big issues that we struggle with all the time, Samaritan House does, so do we, is the question of access.
Right.
So you think of all the things that get in the way of people who are living in poverty, struggling with hunger, to get the foods they need.
When they need it.
When they need it. They may struggle just with economic access. They don't have the money for healthy foods because they can cost more. They don't have the physical access. They may have transportation challenges.
Sure.
They don't have, sometimes there are educational and cultural access issues. They don't actually maybe know what constitutes eating healthy or how to prepare healthy foods that they might receive. What's fantastic about this collaboration is that it addresses all of those.
Right.
The food is free. They walk down the hall to get it, so physically it's easy to access. And we also embed nutrition and education into this, so they're learning about the foods they're getting. They're getting recipe tip cards and menus, things that they can make easily with the foods that they receive.
And they're even cooking demos, so that you take all the fear factor out of the unfamiliar food.
Right. So what I think I love most about this is actually this sort of one-stop access, because instead of one person seeing a physician, seeing, maybe being diagnosed, and then even needing to go over to another location that could be miles away, and perhaps they don't even get there. You've now brought the food to where they are being diagnosed and or they're being treated or they're being counseled, etc.
That's
so
exactly
the convenience of it means people will get the right food.
And food really is the first medicine, and that's particularly true when you're dealing with a disease like diabetes.
Right.
One thing we discovered with our clients was that literally 1 out of every 3 households had someone in the household struggling with diabetes. That's 3 times the national average. So it is often a disease of poverty.
Right.
We also found that when we looked at high rates of poverty in the 2 counties, high rates of food insecurity, which is just a fancy word for hunger, and highest rates of people who were hospitalized for diabetes, guess what? It's all the same neighborhoods. And it happened Samaritan House was operating right in some of those key neighborhoods.
Right, and I'm sure that through your clinics, you are seeing this high rate of diabetes as sort of this entry to what could be a more serious disease, and with diet and sort of exercise or lifestyle, they can change their path.
Well, actually, diabetes itself is a very serious disease, and the consequences of it can be things like losing limbs, blindness. It's really very scary when you think of what will happen to people, and it can happen very quickly. What we found in our Redwood City Free Clinic, for example, in monitoring people we were treating with diabetes, was that it was very effective to work with them with diet instead of, or often in association with, working with medications like insulin.
Right.
So insulin's very expensive. It's a complicated thing to do. Not everybody can handle the routine. It's not always easy. On the other hand, eating, that's very easy.
But this change is, while being subtle, is monumentous, right? Because your physicians are talking to those clients and patients about what their eating habits need to be. That's all fine and well. But then that patient leaves that doctor's office, and then where do they go? Where is that comfort place? Does their local grocery store have those things? If they come to Second Harvest Food Bank and get this general, it probably includes the beans and the rice and the pasta, because those are things that are generally donated, right? We're all putting those kinds of things, but may not be the right
foods,
the right grocery bag to get.
That's exactly right. And what it required us to do was, working with the folks at Samaritan House, was to identify what were the critical foods that these patients needed.
Right.
So it's things like that. You're exactly right, Dani, that often aren't donated. Things like whole grain pasta, quinoa. We don't get a lot of donated quinoa at the food bank. Unsweetened soy milk.
Proteins, tuna fish, chicken.
And fresh fruits and vegetables. So to provide those meant, in many cases, we had to go out and buy those foods.
Right.
They're more expensive, but they're what's required.
And so how did you kind of bridge that gap? I mean, can we help you here on Penn TV to say to people, think about what your donations are? It's just as easy to donate a bag of whole grain pasta as it is, I've got this regular spaghetti bag in my cupboard.
Exactly.
And I'll bet you it's also far easier to let the food bank do what they do so well, which is the mass purchasing, if you just give them a monetary donation and they'll take care of it.
Good point. Yeah. So you can make it easier on me as a community member.
You don't have to be a diabetes expert.
I just can make that donation, and then it can translate into something as specific as this food pharmacy.
And you can trust our volunteer doctors to make sure that people are getting what they really need to stay healthy. This is critical prevention.
Right.
But if you even think about people who've had an illness already, or had an injury, or coming back from surgeries in the hospital, food is what they need most, good diet, in order to maintain and get back to full health.
So this is the question that we always ask. How are you measuring the impact?
Well, we certainly know how much food is going out.
Right.
We measure it in bags of groceries and meal servings. She measures it in megatons, which is, the scale's a little different. We're figuring that between the two food pharmacies, the one in San Mateo, the one in Redwood City, which serve anybody in the San Mateo County, that we're going to give out more than 7,000 bags of groceries. Each bag is about 15 meals.
Right.
So you can, 75,000, you can do the math on it. We know that much, but we're also still treating people. This is a medical service, so they're still under our care. We're able to monitor what's going on with their disease, with their health, and we can see what difference it makes.
Right, I bet anecdotally, over time, you're going to see some improvement, obviously, because we stress diet so much in this diagnosis of diabetes, that over time you're going to see some improvement. And
I think what's so important is, a lot of times nonprofits are sort of accused of not working together very effectively. I would call this, dare I steal from the Olympics, a gold medal collaboration. It really is. Because Bart and Samaritan House are treating these folks. We're providing the infrastructure in the sense of a cooler and freezer to store the food, remodeling the space, providing the food, providing the nutrition education. It's a really wonderful collaboration.
And I have a feeling that nationally this could be something that other partnerships could take on and look at your formula
Yeah, we think so.
We hope they will, because we have one of the most forward-looking food banks in this area with Second Harvest. Kathy knows that. She's really pioneered some of these things, and this is something we think needs to be everywhere. But these are actually, we believe, the first 2 food pharmacies in the state of California.
Well, we're going to put all of your information up at the end of this program, which is just now. And so people who are interested in replicating the program certainly know who to call, and or interested in locally to give, to donate and be a part of it. They'll know how to contact both you, Kathy, and Bart. So thank you so much for bringing this forward to us. And
thanks for inviting us on.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to learning more about it. And we'll see all of you next time on Penn Voice.